You don't have to be a star baby. No, you don't have to be a star baby to be on this show, but you gotta be bold. So, right now, normally we do not come on Tuesdays at 7 p.m., but we do have some breaking news that must be told today. And of course, I have legal analysts with me, policy analysts hanging out with me, Cassandra McDonald. Now, you guys know for the last past 2.5 weeks, 3 weeks, we have been talking about the city of East Cleveland. East Cleveland has been in the spotlight as a leadership battle heats up. Now, the Supreme Court has stepped in and they have weighed their opinion. Now, the stakes couldn't be any higher as residents grapple with issues like public safety, education, and economic development. This clash of leadership is not just a political struggle, it's about the future of the community, of the city of East Cleveland. So, right now, we are going to dive into the results of the Ohio Supreme Court, and I am going to turn this over, Brown on Cleveland, the Little Hut podcast. I am going to turn this over to our legal law policy analyst, Cassandra McDonald. And I see that we have lost her, and that's not a good thing. But hopefully, she'll come right back because we have some breaking news that we need to talk about. And I see that she's back. So, again, we're going to bring on Cassandra McDonald. Ms. McDonald?
Yes, hi. Okay, there you are. How are you this evening?
I'm great. How are you? I know that, the Supreme Court has weighed in on this decision. I am not the expert by far. I'm just a podcast host, media personality. So, of course, I want to give this now to you so you can tell us what are the assessments, the analysis of the Ohio Supreme Court when it comes to the city of East Cleveland. Thank you.
Sure. So the Supreme Court ruled today that the interim mayor, Sandra Morgan of East Cleveland, is in fact confirmed as the interim mayor. They did find that the Cuyahoga County Probate Court did rightfully exercise their authority under Ohio Revised Code 3.16E4 that specifically says that when a mayor is suspended from office, they have the authority to overlook the charter and appoint an interim mayor. So that's what happened.
Interesting. So, once again, Sandra Morgan is the interim mayor for the city of East Cleveland.
Yes, she is. Yes, she is. And I think that as we're talking about how the probate court was able to have an overreaching arm into the city of East Cleveland, it is important for not just East Cleveland, but any municipality, I should say, at this point, to really start, working with their charter review commission so that they can go over their charter and make sure that there are no ambiguities, no vagueness in the law. If you're going to reference a time, put numbers to it, put a date, put something, because that was also a flaw in the by the Supreme Court that did not exist. So, basically what happened is legal and it did.
Very interesting. So, one would think that when East Cleveland was going through their trials and tribulations, all of the bickering, the chaos, the conflict, and confusion, they were totally off the mark because rather than cause all of this havoc, they should have been looking at their city charter. But the other thing that I noticed with a lot of cities is when they have their charter review commission, they pretty much they handpick the people that they want to review, and they only want them to review certain parts of the charter, which in fact I think is a total farce. But I think the lesson here is that when you have your charter review commission, you want them to look at the entire city charter because some of this stuff is antiquated and it needs to be brought up to the present rather than stay in the past. Not even looking at the now. What's going to be best for the citizens? of a certain area within the present. Brown on Cleveland.
You you are 100% right. I'll go back to the law that I had repealed from the books in the city of Euclid, because this was very discriminatory against housing. Okay, there was an antiquated law from early 1900s that stated that if anybody in the city of Euclid had any record, a misdemeanor or felony, they had to report that to the city of Euclid. We're not doing that because we have all these ban the box laws, the expungements, to this. Why are we still doing that? So I look taken off. People have to realize if there's that law is still on the books, they can exercise it at any time. So it's important to go through that and take off what shouldn't be there.
So I have a question for you. Every city has a
Mhm.
law director. Why wouldn't East Cleveland's law director advise city council on the possibilities and probabilities of what could possibly happen? The law director. He or she does not have a say.
I don't
Aren't they supposed to
know if you can hear me,
advise
but it cut off a
council?
little bit. Okay, so
I
and
can hear
when
you.
okay, so they should know. I couldn't hear what, but they should know.
I was asking about the law director and their legal obligations.
Obligated, but even with that, you still had council people that would the law director would say, and she was wrong in the way that she was interpreting the law as well. So that whole thing was a mess. It was.
I see. I see. Well, we're going to wrap this thing up. Like I said, this is breaking news. We covered the story first. We stayed with the story, and I truly believe that the listeners, the followers, they had a right to know the end result. So once again, the city of East Cleveland, the Ohio Supreme Court has ruled that the interim mayor Sandra Morgan stays, and Latik Shabazz just has to stay as council president. And by the way, just to recap real quick, we were supposed to have Mr. Shabazz on the show last week, and it's very unfortunate that he stood me up. And as I look at the credentials of some of the people that he's so eager to speak with, none of them has been on a national platform. Nobody but myself. So, I'm not angry about it. I'm not mad about it, but it is a little startling. It's a tad bit upset that he would be so disrespectful. But at the end of the day, again, the Ohio Supreme Court made a decision, and unfortunately or fortunately, the city of Cleveland has to make do with the interim mayor, Sandra Morgan. One last thing is this. I noticed that Sandra Morgan also pulled petitions to run for the city of East Cleveland mayor. I thought that was a no-no, but here again, what do I know? I had no idea that she could do it. So she came through the back door, and it seems like she's going to now try to go through the front door to permanently send herself as mayor in the event that a Democrat city will elect this Republican woman to actually lead the city. Brown on Cleveland, let's wrap this thing up. Breaking news, Brown on Cleveland, Little Hut Podcast, policy, legal, law analyst, Cassandra McDonald. You have the last words. Brown on Cleveland.
Okay, so again, let this be a lesson learned for the municipalities. Make sure you exercise your civil commission on researching the legislation there. And again, hindsight 2020, don't let it happen again.
Very good. Thank you so much for joining me again, Little Hut Podcast. I'm quite sure this will not be the last time you and I connect, because anytime I need some legal advice and I need to look at real deep into some policies, I know that you are the go-to person, not just in the region, but across this here United States of America. So I thank you so much for joining me tonight inside the Little Hut Podcast. Once again, my name is Kimberly F. Brown, Brown on Cleveland. This is the Little Hut Podcast, and thank you for joining us. You guys have a great night.